Hey, it's Colleen.
Hi, it's Kate.
And it's Megan.
And we're the
Three Scheme Queens. Join us as we discuss popular hoaxes and give you our comedic take on what is fact and what is fiction. If you have a sense of humor and an open mind, come take this journey with us.
We'll tell you what we think, and we'll try to prove it to you.
Is this thing on? Did you miss me?
You still just have two Scheme Queens.
We're in our even number era.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's just us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, next week we're all going to be back
We'll
together.
be unified.
Because you know what we're celebrating next week?
Our birthday.
1 year. We're 1 year old next week. Where you been?
I have been traveling across America. I've been in Nevada. I've been in Tennessee. I dabbled in Dolly World. I nibbled in Memphis, and I think I found him, guys.
You found Elvis?
I think I found Elvis.
All right, well, hold that thought. We have two fun guests.
Surprise!
Lindsay and Maureen. So glad to have you.
Hi.
Today we're talking
Sasquatch.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
The biggin.
What do you guys call him?
Bigfoot. Sasquatch.
Yeah. Oh, house divided. Well, Lindsay and I was doing math in my head today. We have been friends for like 15 years.
Oh my God.
We're kind of old.
And as long as I've known her, she's been a Sasquatch fan. And I heard, Maureen, you've had some experiences.
I've had a few run-ins with them.
Oh my God.
So before we get deep into it, though,
everybody hit pause. Share this episode with 3 friends whose middle name begins with E. Thank you very much.
so is it time for our
Drink check.
What's your girls drinking over there?
Oh, geez. Well, I've got a combination.
We like a multi.
Got a little Mai Tai going on. And I've got a Kangen water chaser.
Do ask what Kangen water is, would you?
Yeah, I have no idea. Mate.
Do we supposed to know?
I was just smiling and nodding.
So, yeah, Kangen water, it's electrolyzed reduced water. It's alkaline. It's got hydrogen clusters in it. It's super hydrating and it has a lot of health benefits, actually.
Does it taste good?
Oh, it's the purest ever. It's really good. Coming out of the side. Great. If you ever get a chance to try it.
She's got grandma on it who's fighting cancer. Yeah, it was to be anti-cancer.
Oh, well, it's alkaline, so cancer can't live in an alkaline environment. The purpose of it is it kind of brings your body back to alkaline, and the things we eat and drink makes our body acidic, which causes a lot of disease.
Yeah. Such as Mai Tais.
Yeah. I love the Mai Tai.
She's counteracting the Mai Tai.
I'm a big fan of the Mai Tai.
It's up Kate's alley.
It is giving Kate. I think she would like this.
Yeah. You drinking the same over there, Lindsay?
I'm drinking a half dome wheat ale from Yosemite Valley.
Absolutely delicious.
Yeah. Since I climbed it, I figured I should drink it.
Oh, heck yeah.
You know, I was thinking when I was hearing your mom's backstory, I was like, yes, and then she birthed a child who just wants to like live in the woods also. So
Sounds right. Sounds very
She was
fitting.
raised in the woods, you bet.
we're having hot toddies.
Like a common denominator.
We've had them
denominator?
sometimes. I don't usually make
Denominator?
them.
Do you make them with tea?
Denominator?
Yes, so
That's
bourbon.
controversial.
Yeah, it is controversial because Bourbon Boy usually makes them for us. That's Kate's husband, and
I
I
just put so much bourbon in
Yeah.
it turns it brown.
it's so good. And then one time he was at his UTA weekend. So Kate was trying to make them, and
It wasn't right.
she couldn't find the tea, and she was texting him like, "Where's your tea?" And he was like, "I haven't put tea in my toddy in 10 years." Yeah, and we're like, "Oh, had no idea." So
So he's calling warm bourbon.
yeah, it's just a lot of bourbon with a little lemon.
But that is a part of it. That's how my great Grammy would drink it. Bourbon, hot water, little lemon.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Absolutely. Is your great granny Irish?
And there's like family pictures of her sitting in a rocker with like 5 blankets on and a hot toddy. What a woman.
Absolutely good.
We were asking what the name is, right?
Oh, yeah. Sasquatch
Okay.
versus Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, Skunk Ape, whatever the name.
Ape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, I just went to New Orleans and we saw some Sasquatch merch, and that's what they were calling it down there. That's
Skunk
Ape.
Ape.
South. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So whatever name, we all grew up hearing stories of the mysterious, large, hairy, bipedal creatures that have been spotted in every state of the United States and on almost every continent, yet their existence cannot be verified. In the United States, Sasquatch sightings were first reported by Native Americans and persist today. Are these creatures real? What do we make of the photographs, video and audio recordings, hair samples, and tracks that have been observed and reported? And if they are real, what are they? Are they descendants of ancient apes? Or are they an unclassified species of humans? We're going to talk about it.
If you want, I could just give you a little bit of my background.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I was a forestry major, and so I've lived most of my life in timber communities in Cascade Mountains of Washington and the Selkirk Mountains in northern Idaho. So small, remote places, and spent. If I wasn't sleeping at home, I was in the woods, either hunting backcountry horsemen, packing out into the woods, and raised Lindsay fishing upper mountain lakes. So yeah, I'm no stranger to the backcountry.
Of the Pacific.
Oh, woman. Oh my gosh. Get her in for some stories.
Yes. All right. So again, I'll get into a little intro. I was telling Lindsay I have some facts, and then you guys can interrupt if you have thoughts, and at the end we'll have you share your stories.
Your closures.
Oh, you know what I forgot to do is do we believe?
Well, I think we all believe.
Why are we
Okay.
here? We're believers.
Megan.
Well, usually I don't believe.
Megan is a common non-believer. Yeah.
I would find it easier to believe if all of these sightings were like, yep, they've only been spotted in the Pacific Northwest. But the fact that we'll talk about it, they're seen everywhere,
Well, they're human-like.
makes it harder to believe.
So humans are everywhere.
But where do they come from? And when I talk about where they come from, you're going to realize it doesn't really make sense.
Oh, I'm intrigued. I need to know more. Right now, I believe.
Also, though, it's possible he does exist in maybe the Pacific Northwest, and there have been fake stories in other places.
Everybody wants a piece of the pie.
Yeah. That's a moneymaker.
Everybody wishes they had squatches, and so they call them, what are you, wood bushmen? Wood boogers and skunky squatches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bushman, that's what they called me in high school.
Yeah. As I mentioned, Sasquatch is described as a large, muscular, bipedal creature measuring over 7 feet and covered in dark hair. If we believe the tracks, these creatures have feet measuring over a foot with a metatarsal joint, unlike humans, that allows for additional foot flexibility. The creatures have no neck and long arms with human-like facial features. They are mostly spotted on roads or near streams, and experts who believe in their existence estimate they live to be 30 to 50 years. They live in nests that are teepee-like structures made from foliage. They communicate with howls, wood knocking, and throwing stones. And what do they eat? Apparently, they eat plants and meat, berries, leaves, nuts, and fruit, also salmon, rabbit, elk, and bear, and they have been known to hunt deer.
Do they have sharp teeth?
Does that sound like what you guys think?
Yeah, I would say yes. If they're eating meat, they've got sharp teeth.
Got teeth like ours, I would think.
Yeah, carnivores. Yeah, they really like deer.
Yeah.
Deer meat.
So there's many regions throughout North America that have differentiating names for Bigfoot, as I mentioned.
Right.
Sounds like Canada, they call him Sasquatch. You guys were kind of up there by Canada, right? So U.S., we have Sasquatch and Bigfoot. There's also the skunk ape in Florida and other southern states. Grassman in Ohio.
Ohio would have their own name.
The wood booger in Virginia. Virginia has its
Wood
name.
booger?
The old man of the mountain in West Virginia.
Got
Bushman.
a t-shirt with that. Bushman?
Tree man and wild man.
I'm getting a t-shirt with that one.
I have an idea.
Have you guys watched the show? We've referenced it before in the podcast.
We love the show. Mountain.
Yeah, Mountain Monsters.
Absolutely.
I love that show.
We were watching snippets of that before we started talking to you.
It's the ship squad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sasquatch.
And he's what he's at. He's looking at the tree and some water gets in his eye. And he's like, "It's the pea." And then he goes blind, and it's so dramatic. And then yes, the one where the Native Americans.
Yeah. And he gets hypnotized.
Anyway, I'm not surprised that you guys have.
They kind of go a little overboard, I think, sometimes.
Oh, it's definitely theatrical. but
Oh, absolutely.
There's always a hint of truth.
there's probably like 5 people in my life who would know what that show was. You guys wrote the so of course we've watched that.
3 of them are here.
So within the United States, about 1 in 10 people believe. There have been over 10,000 reported Bigfoot sightings in the continental United States. So about a third of all claims of Bigfoot sightings are located in the Pacific Northwest, with the remaining reports spread throughout the rest of North America. The sightings predominantly occur in the northwestern region of Washington State, Oregon, Northern California, and British Columbia. But outside of Northern America, we have some different kind of species. Yeti, yes.
Ooh.
The Yeti. The Yowie is like the Australian version of Bigfoot.
Yeah, we would call
That
it a
dates
yowie.
back to the Aborigines, thousands of years.
Ooh.
But when I talk about how these maybe came to be, it doesn't make much sense because Australia's been isolated for thousands of years on this island. So if we're thinking that like the Yeti or the Sasquatch kind of evolved and migrated, it doesn't really make sense.
Well, what about the squirrel breeds?
Also, do they have petroglyphs?
They might.
Don't the
Aborigines would
Aboriginals
have.
make petroglyphs?
Yeah. Is there any like drawing?
No, they're drawing on the rock.
Are there petroglyphs of Yetis?
Yes,
Definitely.
of course.
The natives are
I mean,
like
in the
artsy
Northwest,
fartsy.
there's
These are
what do you call it?
professionals.
Ghost poles with Sasquatches on them.
Do you believe in Pangea? They could have the same breed that evolved.
True.
Yeah, but where do they come? Like again, when we talk about like if I believe, then I maybe believe they're in like the
They make
Northwest.
from monkeys.
It makes sense where they come from, but like these random islands.
Well, could we were all one land at one point.
Maybe they were Squatches.
Yeah,
Now you're talking our language, ladies.
there's also the year, which is a Chinese version of the Sasquatch. It's supposed to be very close to Bigfoot in size and appearance. Okay, we have in Mongolia the Almas, in Sumatra the orange pindek, and in South Africa the Mapingori. So
See, to me, this is making it more convincing.
that they exist everywhere.
Yeah.
Where they come from, the Bigfoot giganto theory suggests that the Bigfoot or Sasquatch may be a descendant or relative of Gigantopithecus,
Ah.
which is an extinct genus of giant ape that lived in Asia up to 300,000 years ago.
That sounds about. See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah?
That's fact. That's fact for us.
Yeah, that's hardcore. That's proof. Yeah.
Okay. Proponents of this theory argue that the size and characteristics attributed to Bigfoot, such as the large footprints and the ape-like features, could be explained if this is like a descendant, like through the lineage. The theory is that the Gigantopithecus survived longer than previously thought, or perhaps they were like small undiscovered populations, and they adapted, evolved, and now that's who we know to be Bigfoot. There's another theory about a hominins, like the Homo sapiens, right? So like the Neanderthals, who we know were our closest extinct relatives, they lived in Africa around 2.7 to 1.2 million years ago. They are known for their distinctive physical traits, including the robust skulls, the large teeth, which suggests they had a diet primarily composed of tough plant material. They exhibit features like pronounced sagittal crests on their skulls, indicating strong jaw muscles. These adaptations reflect their specialized feeding habits, setting them apart from early hominins, including the genus Homo. So the problem with this, though, is that the fossils of the Paranthropus are only found in Africa.
So nowhere else.
Oh, so they weren't found anywhere else. Yeah, so how could they be all over the place?
Oh.
Yeah,
Pangea, bitch.
yeah.
Pangea, duh.
That's like that's just like that it was all one big,
Yeah,
right?
but that's
Yeah.
why you can
Yeah.
see footprints across Russia into Alaska.
I thought that was Sarah Palin.
That's
Oh, funny.
Some suggest Neanderthal, Homo erectus, or Homo heidelbergensis to be the creature, but like all the great apes, no remains of any of those species have been found in the Americas. Bigfoot is alleged to live in regions unusual for a large non-human primate. Usually those large primates would be found in the tropics of Africa to Asia, and we have no fossil records in the Americas, so no Bigfoot remains, no evidence that they existed here, in the past. Philip Stevens, a cultural anthropologist at the University of Buffalo, summarized the scientific consensus as follows. It defies all logic that there is a population of these things sufficient to keep them going. What it takes to maintain any species, especially a long-lived species, is having a breeding population. That requires a substantial number spread out over a fairly wide area where they can find sufficient food and shelter to keep hidden from all the investigators. And then Jane Goodall, probably the most famous primatologist, has kind of given mixed theories. At times she said, I'm sure they exist. Later in her life, she said, well, maybe they don't exist, but I want them to. So
It is giving ape to
the
me.
point is that there's all these kind of crazy theories about where these could have descended from. It makes sense if they evolved from something that was like in South America and they were able to kind of migrate up. But
Well, humans come from apes, and we're everywhere.
do we come from apes?
In my mind, we do.
In our minds.
Well, we don't come from apes. Apes and we come from one.
Evolved.
Yeah. So, and we're everywhere, but apes aren't everywhere.
So that's my backstory. I have kind of a couple sightings, famous sightings, and I have a couple kind of debunked sightings.
Ooh.
But I want to hear from our guests next.
Yeah, I need to hear some personal experiences. I've heard we have some exposure.
Yes. So tell us what we got wrong there in the history, what we got right, what you've seen. Take it away.
Well, I can only speak from my experience. I don't want to debunk anybody else's experience really, but like I told you earlier, I'm pretty much always in the woods, right? I hunt and I'm
familiar with the wild animals.
Yeah, I live in the far north of Idaho in the Selkirk Mountains. I'm familiar with bears and cougars, and I know cougar scream and their mating calls and how crazy that sounds. So I guess my first encounter, it wasn't visual, but it was auditory. We were hunting, me and my friend were hunting, and we were in the Cascade Mountains of Southwest Washington, right around Mount Adams, St. Helens area. And it got dark, and so we were coming down the mountain, and we had stopped because it was just a full moon night. It was pretty. We got out of the car and we're kind of chit-chatting. Anyway, we're standing outside of the pickup truck and we heard this scream. It was something that I'd never heard before. Like I said, I'd heard cougars and stuff scream, and it just blew us away. We were like, we both looked at each other and like, what the heck was that? And it was coming from a ridge across from us. So we tried calling back.
Like, was it human-like?
Oh, absolutely not. It was so loud. I mean, considering it came from the ridge all the way across from us, it's like it echoed through the canyon. And we couldn't believe it because both of us were experienced hunters and backcountry people. And we both looked at each other and we're like, what would make something that loud?
Right.
If it had been a cat or something, it would have sounded far away. But this was amazing. There'd always been stories in the area of sightings and caves in that area. And so, yeah, we always wondered if that was it. And we tried to mimic the call and get it to call us back. And I guess we weren't very good at it. It didn't.
Can we get a sample of that?
Can we give her a reenaction?
All right, let me see if I can remember what. No, I think it was something like.
But louder, obviously. Wait, hold on. I think you got me. That's creepy. I would have been scared.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch any of those Sasquatch shows, you'd hear them trying to call out to the Sasquatch in a similar manner.
They do. I know our mountain boys do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and if you've ever heard a mountain lion in mating season, it's a crazy sound, but nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that.
That did not give cat to me.
Well, I mean, I trust it.
And I give mountain lion gives cat.
I've always heard you're like a very experienced outdoors woman as you're telling us now. So I kind of trust that you would recognize
the normal and not normal sound.
Yeah.
I've hunted from Alaska to Manitoba, Canada, hunted bear and wolves. And I'm not saying I'm an expert by any means, but I know what animals are out there.
And you're in woods that have no people. You know what I mean? Like, I've been to the woods. I've been to New Hampshire, right? It's like
all the leaf peepers.
Yeah, not the same vibes. You're in uncharted territory.
It's funny when you're out there too, and you know that you're the only ones out there for miles and miles. And when you hear something that is strange, it definitely piques your interest, and human nature just makes you want to figure it out. What was it?
So but did you have a sighting also?
No, I was remembering the water truck incident that you were telling.
Oh, yeah, that happened a couple years ago. I was working on a fire, and this is in Northeast Washington State. I contract with the government. We do wildfires, and I run a water tender. So again, I'm just always out in the woods.
Right.
So we've been going up and down this road for probably a month or more. I was going back to where we fill the trucks for water, and I mean, there's nobody around. It's a dirt road, and you're just going down. And right in the brush next to the road, I hear this whack on a tree. And I'm like, did I just hear that? So I stopped my truck and actually backed my truck up, and I'm looking out into the brush like, what would have done that, right?
To be loud enough to be heard over her huge water pump.
It's a Kenworth W900, and it's a semi truck full of water. So of course I didn't see anything. And the brush was very thick, but it's things like that. Your mind, as a human, we try to rationalize everything. So I'm like, okay, only a person or a Sasquatch could have picked up a limb. Bears don't do that. I mean, right. Pretty much thinking there's no people out there whacking trees, right? For what purpose? Freak out the water tender operator?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lindsay's what he taught me. They whack trees to communicate.
And I also think it's a threat. I think it's a way of them saying, hey, you're too close to me. Yeah. And this is, I think, when I was the most scared.
This is her sighting, right?
Yeah. And this was actually in my backyard pretty much, right? We have a tree stand. It's on a creek. It's in the mountains. And down the creek, probably half a mile from the house, we put a tree stand in the trees. And I had bought a Nikon camera, and we'd put out some dog food and bacon or whatever. I was trying to lure in a bear. I wanted to get some bear pictures with my new camera.
That's crazy.
How many people are like, we're trying to attract the bears?
I would like more bears in my yard.
Yes, but okay.
Sounds unbearable.
I'm actually a huge bear fan, but they're amazing animals. So anyway, we were up in this tree stand for quite a while, and we were up there just silent as we could be. Just quiet, quiet, quiet. I would say 2, possibly 3 hours went by, and there was nothing, right? And so we started getting a little bored. We started whispering to each other. And this is where it gets weird. We're whispering and chit-chatting, and across the creek, through the trees, I hear like a heavy thud. Something had jumped out of a tree onto the ground. And I'm like, did you hear that? And then we started talking just a little bit louder, or just kind of, and I kind of could see through the trees, and I could see brown fur, and I'm thinking, oh, it's got to be a moose, right? But then it jumped into the tree, so I'm thinking, a moose doesn't jump out of the tree, Your mind is trying to rationalize what you heard. So I'm thinking, well, if it was a cougar in the tree, it wouldn't have made that much noise. Cats are really pretty stealthy. Yeah. So whatever jumped out of the tree was heavy. As we were talking a little bit louder, like, what? Did you hear that? What do you think, what was that? And I said, do you see that? There it is. And through the brush, you could see the brown fur.
Did you have binoculars?
I did not, but it was like, I would say from where we were to where it was maybe 75 yards. Not very far away.
Okay.
So the next thing I hear is, if you can imagine like a baseball bat hitting a tree, or like somebody picking up a stick and hitting a tree, this was like an 8-inch log hitting a tree so hard it made a noise that we both like jumped in our skin, because it was crack. I mean, it was not a small limb. It was huge. It's really hard to explain if you've never heard something like that, like the size of a stick hitting a tree, or the size of a bigger limb hitting a tree, or a 2x4 or whatever, And so we were at this point, it just put the chills in us. I was
And you could still see them, like you could still see the fur.
I could just see fur through the trees moving. And there was never, like, if a deer or a moose was there, you're going to hear the thud, 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 thud of the feet going away.
And branches breaking.
Branches breaking because they don't care where they step.
It was silent after that.
It was silent after that. And we skied up there for a long time because I was like, holy. Well, it was a strange thing. And I'm a believer. We've got pictures. My husband and I have pictures of footprints in the snow. And so, I was like, well, we always go armed, but we stood up there for a long time and waited and then came down. And the next day, I did go out there to look for sign, like looking for whatever log hit that tree. So there was like, it probably was, I don't know, probably 8 foot long by 6 inches around next to a tree where I figured what I saw was standing. And I couldn't see any footprints in the duff,
And you couldn't see, like, when it was standing, like, if it looked bipedal or if it had four.
all I could see was like this
Fur blobs.
reddish brown fur kind of moving back and forth.
That's so creepy. Do you think they're just like really intelligent and that's why they're so quiet?
Absolutely. Well, I think they're quiet because it's like running through the brush in moccasins, right? Your feet.
Oh,
They're not going to make. Your feet are not going to make noise if you're barefoot. You're not going to make noise through the brush like a hoofed animal.
You're right.
Right.
Oh, of course. And so, I mean, it sounds like you felt fear, right? I mean,
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I can't even explain the amount of noise. I totally felt it was threat, and I don't know if he knew we were in the tree, but when we started whispering and stuff, I think that bothered him, and he jumped out of the tree, and then he gave us that whack, with that log against the tree. But the force behind that was so amazing. It's just really hard to explain. I wish I would have had a recording of it because it was so amazingly loud.
And then clearly there was nobody else out there with you.
Oh, no, absolutely.
so
I mean, even if there had been another human there, you would have heard them.
Right.
Humans make noise and they don't walk through the brush silently. And I know for a fact, if I wanted to be invisible in the woods, I could. Imagine being a Sasquatch. They're smart enough not to be detected, and they probably know that we're dangerous to them, right?
That's why you think they're hiding from us is because they are protecting themselves from hunters, from even. Yeah.
Well, what animal wants to stick around? There's no wild animal that does.
No, they're just maybe smarter than.
I think that's smarter.
Like the dolphins.
Right.
Almost as smart as humans, but
Not
yeah. Well, your experiences actually sound pretty similar to some of the stories I found. Lindsay was telling me though that you guys as like a family used to go hunt Sasquatch.
Well,
Go out into the woods and go for a walk and see what you
it
can
was
find.
mostly just hunting. But, like, if you ran across a Sasquatch, winner.
Tell you, it's really quite common. You talked earlier about their little caves. Well, the way that they stack logs to make a shelter,
Like a little teepee.
it's not uncommon as you're walking through the mountains to find those.
Yeah.
Not at all. And you will find these trees. I would say that they'd be like 2.5 to 3 inches in diameter, broke off to make these. It was otherwise a healthy tree. Why would it break off at about 8 feet to bend over like that? Because I always try to rationalize it. Did wind do that? I'm always trying to make sense of
Explain it away. Yeah.
and debunk it, right? And sometimes you're like, that looks so much like a shelter. How would that happen naturally? Right? And so your mind just trying to like, okay, so if this happened or that happened, and you're like, there's no way. Yeah.
I don't know. You're selling me.
Yeah, I'm like, on.
Well, come up and visit.
We have a Sasquatch festival every year.
Yeah, in Medellin Falls, Washington. I think this year it's June 15th or something.
Maybe we'll have to go do UFOs.
Yeah.
We'll go Roswell and then we'll go up to Washington.
And then at Forks.
Hey, put it on your calendar. Because truly, it's amazing. You'll get real life encounters from people there.
And the mountain men guys are there sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Wait, from the show?
Like burly bearded men.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. I think she still had the old West Virginia.
I was like, the member of the show. I was
you
like,
might find your soulmate as a Sasquatch hunter.
oh my God.
I don't know if that's my soulmate, but that could be like a fun hobby on the weekends. Let's go hunt Sasquatch.
What if your soulmate's a Sasquatch? He's ginger. He's large.
He's furry. Yeah.
I mean, that's it might be a little too hairy for me.
Freak them teepees.
Sleeping teepees, that sounds cold. And like sleeping in a teepee in the Pacific Northwest. I like my heat.
I've seen Twilight. I know how cold it gets.
Colleen is well traveled, but she's
Never been west.
never been west of the coast.
Yeah.
But northeast.
Well, if you guys want a true experience, you got to come up.
Uno reverse.
Okay.
She's never been northeast.
Well, also though, like Lindsay just like PRNs.
Oh my God.
So we could just like travel for a month.
Oh, that could be easily done.
Absolutely, we could all
In the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's a write-off or trip. Sounds like a wrap to me.
I don't want to just talk about
Yeah,
sightings.
here's some famous ones.
But let me give you some of the big ones, the famous ones. Yep. First of all, of note, we know that indigenous cultures from around the world, I think you guys referenced this earlier, the cave paintings, right?
Oh,
So since the 1500s, Spanish explorers and Mexican settlers told stories of these large hairy creatures stalking their camps. And in 1721, a Jesuit priest living with a tribe in Mississippi reported sightings of a loud, hairy creature that stole livestock. And in 1929, an Indian agent, J.W. Burns, published a collection of stories about sightings in the British Columbia. So hundreds of years, people have been reporting seeing some kind of large, furry creature. Interestingly, do you know which president? I bet you guys do. Do you know which president spotted Sasquatch?
Oh, be Teddy Roosevelt.
That's what I was going to say.
isn't he the one who got shot in the chest?
He did. He got shot in the chest,
Yeah, and his notebook saved them.
and he still gave his speech. Don't you live in Washington D.C.?
Okay, I just was like, oh, poor naive Colleen, and Colleen knew exactly what she was talking.
Yeah, loser. Yeah, he has a name. He has a different than Teddy. He has like a
Theodore Roosevelt,
Google it, Colleen.
Rough Rider.
the Rough. Well, the Rough Riders, like we're the group, right?
There
Rough. Look,
He was not. He was a Rough Rider. That was not his nickname.
He's got a lot of nicknames. The Colonel. TD.
I call him. No, I won't say it. What do you call him? Wild man.
That's a bushman.
so President Teddy Roosevelt,
Yeah.
he published this book, The Wilderness Hunter, in 1893, and in one chapter he recounted an encounter he heard from a fellow hunter in the remote wilderness of the American West. The hunter described a terrifying experience where he and his companions encountered a large ape-like creature while hunting in the mountains. The creature, which was later interpreted by some as a precursor to Bigfoot, attacked their camp, killing one of the men and terrifying the others.
Oh, yeah.
According to the story, the creature was so powerful that it was able to overpower the hunters, leaving them in a state of fear and confusion. Bigfoot was first named Bigfoot in 1958 when 18-inch human-like footprints were found deep in the mud in the Six Rivers National Park. They also reported a 450-pound oil drum that was being moved without explanation. It was like a logging camp, and the loggers began calling the mysterious creature Bigfoot. Accounts were published in the newspaper, giving widespread traction to the name. But 2002, family members of Ray Wallace, who was one of those workers, found a collection of large carved feet in the basement. So it's been debunked. It was all a hoax. At least the story that gave Bigfoot the name Bigfoot
Was a hoax.
was a hoax. They think he was just trying to scare away thieves, and he was inspired by a group of foresters in the 1930s in Toledo, Washington, who carved pairs of large feet. They used wood to carve large feet and create footprints in the mud to scare the huckleberry pickers away from the Gifford
That's
National Forest.
disappointing.
The Gifford Pinchot.
Yes, thank you. I didn't want to. Sometimes I just skip a word when I don't know how to pronounce this.
It's really funny, but that's where I was when I heard those calls. I was
Oh my
Pinchot.
God. No.
And then October 20th, 1967, Patterson and Gimlin were filming a Bigfoot docudrama in Northern California, and they captured a 60-second alleged Bigfoot video. So I think this is like the famous video, right? The Patterson-Gimlin video.
Like on the river or whatever.
Yeah, but most people think that was a hoax. Some people think it was just misidentified animals. It could have been a bear walking upright. While upright.
Bear or
Noreen is nodding no. No.
Not a bear hunter here. She knows it's up.
She loves bears.
Yeah.
She's attracting bears. While walking upright, adult black bear would stand roughly 5 to 7 feet. Grizzly bears roughly 8 to 9 feet. So there was a comment in one of these documentaries that like a lot of these sightings do occur in places where bears exist. But again, if I'm going to buy into this, and I mean, Maureen is kind of selling me here, but if I'm going to buy into this, I'm going to have to believe that like, I mean, not every sighting is real, right? That there's like probably a lot of these that confused. There's also theories
trying to get famous.
There's also theories that some of these sightings could be like escaped apes from zoos, and maybe these little apes are making like little colonies.
Well, hold on. What zoo just had a bunch of escaped monkeys? South Carolina.
Carolina.
They're when everybody locked their doors.
40 apes.
On a zoo, or
I think it was from a research facility. So they're angry apes. This is like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, we gotta have like
That's a whole other episode.
yeah, fun.
Well, that's actually because they do say that they think that maybe some of these areas where there are sightings, like in the southeast, where it's hot and humid, that like those, they're like, we could maybe explain away some of these sightings as like escaped apes, but like they're not going to be able to survive in all of the climates in which there are reported sightings.
No.
And then there's also some, unfortunately, maybe some of these people could be humans in disguise or just mixed up, like confused for humans. There have been cases of humans getting shot when someone thinks that they are.
Well, I could see somebody in one of those like hunting
suit.
Yeah, I could see that maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they just identify as Sasquatch because that's the world we live in.
That is the world we live in.
If you're not
That's
right,
the world we used to live in.
you're supposed to only call it the neutral foot.
I never thought that.
These like post-Civil War sightings could have been like Civil War vets who just like went into the mountains and
just ditched.
And just like
Everybody's always trying to debunk it, right?
Yeah.
Even legit sightings, people are trying to debunk them and trying to make people look like they're crazy. And so that's why
Just like they did with the aliens.
a lot of people
Look at us now. Look at us now.
A lot of people won't talk about it because they're going to be called crazy in their local newspaper.
Bingo. Yeah, I mean, again, you are speaking to us. And then you know what? In like 50 years, they go, oh, we're going to declassify all this information, and it was all real. And people are going to go, who cares?
Yeah.
But
Right. We know that already.
I do have some sightings that were not debunked. Let's see, 2012 in Quincy, Florida. There was a father-son, Stacy Brown Jr. and Sr., military vets. We love our vets, right? Salute to Lindsay. They were casting out with their thermal camera, hoping to capture Bigfoot, and they did. So they found a guy who was like, wasn't wearing any clothing. He had no neck. He was hunched over. His arms and legs were bulkier than humans, but they did not match any other animal that we know of. Like the legs were shorter than humans, but longer than apes and gorillas. They checked the local zoos. There were no escaped primates. They thought this was like a 7-foot tall creature. He just kind of like escaped behind some trees, but they were never able to really debunk this. And again, when they looked back, the Seminoles, the Florida natives from back in the day, had written about a creature that they called the protector of the forest.
Oh my gosh.
Skunk Ape.
The skunk ape?
That's a skunk ape.
Well, yes.
Why
So
do they call it that there?
They stink to high heaven. Smell bad.
It's almost like,
knows this
it's
to be a
almost like
fact.
you've done this before.
Have you smelled them?
I have not.
I was 75 yards away, so no, I haven't. I'd like to smell one.
So that is the deal that they call them the skunk ape because they claim that they're very odoriferous. They hang out in these methane packed bogs. And there was a lady in Florida who was like, someone keeps stealing my apples off my porch.
It's the gosh darn skunk ape.
No, yeah. And she set up a camera and she captured like still photos on the hunting camera
I would like to see that.
of the skunk ape stealing her apples.
Oh.
So it doesn't mean it's real, but they haven't been able to debunk it.
I had a theory for a while because there was this part in the ER at the hospital that was smelling for weeks. We couldn't figure out what it was. We changed the mattresses on the gurneys. We mopped the floors. And it was bad in there. And I was like, you know what? What if Sasquatch is like small like a fairy? And he's just roaming around in the ceilings, and that's why we can't find him.
But then how would you explain all these sightings?
Yeah.
of
Why
the
would it call Bigfoot if it was a fairy?
Fairies
Yeah.
can transform.
What if it was baby Squatch and they just deposited the babies at the hospital and then like went off?
It was somebody with bad gas,
They can transform.
open wounds, infected, C. diff.
C. diff.
Lindsay works in the ER, so she doesn't know what that smells like. In 2009, in the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia, Chuck Newton and his son captured a hairy bipedal creature crossing a stream. He was 7 feet tall. Cherokees in this region had also described this hairy-looking human. And the only bipedal animal in that area is bears, and they kind of fact-checked that it wasn't a bear. This guy had a very lanky walk, unlike a bear. So there's a sighting.
Vicious.
In 1990, the Blue Mountains, Washington, Mill Creek on the southeast border. You know where that is?
Yeah.
So Paul Freeman, who was a U.S. patrolman, found over 100 prints.
Ooh.
2 years later, in Deduct Spring area. Familiar? He captured video evidence and more tracks. 1996 in the 5 Points area, again more tracks. So this guy was just like a professional hunter. These tracks were all like 14 inches long, and they have again this weird like metatarsal joint that humans don't have, this like bend in their foot, and it was very deep. So they indicated that it was heavier than just like a normal human's footprints. So the interesting sightings not debunked. And then in 2022, Fort Sam Houston Park. Boyd Sims was on a month-long expedition to record wildlife sounds, and he has dozens of recordings. They said this forest is like a real hot spot for sightings. There's all these recordings of sounds that, again, kind of like you described, did not sound like other animals. There were some theories that maybe it was a coyote, but I mean, it sounds like you were clear on
Coyotes have a very particular sound.
Oh, I said I've heard of coyotes, was not a coyote.
They're so high
Like-
pitched.
They're wild dogs.
And then you guys probably know about the Sierra sounds. Then I think those are the most famous audio recordings.
Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you about.
We were talking about it today.
The Sierra screams. Oh my gosh.
Do you think there's like tribes of Squatch? Like
That's what it sounded like. I can tell you that that gentleman was at the Squatch Fest, and he did a presentation on what happened up there where they were at, where they had heard that. It's fascinating. It's literally fascinating. Put it on your schedules. June 14, 15, 2025.
Yeah.
Oh, Mom wants to show you a footprint.
Let's see it.
oh
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
This was taken by my neighbor who also is in the woods all the time. You guys can see that.
oh my god.
It's just like they're describing, where it's like kind of like
Exactly.
the valley of a foot.
Yeah.
Right, where it was bipedal, where you said that.
And is it the 4 toes?
There's 5 toes.
Oh.
The one closest to the camera.
Oh, I see
is
that.
finished. Yeah,
That's so interesting.
My goodness.
yeah. But you can see where the heel. And then hang on, 'cause there's another one, and it shows her foot next to it.
Oh, wow.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Okay.
But it's in the snow, so it's a little melted. It's gonna look bigger than it actually was.
Yeah, that looks like
It gives you an idea.
Massive. Can you send those to us?
yeah.
We need this for the gram.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were asking if they live in packs, and I think if they only live to be 40 to 50 years old, I mean, they have to be reproducing somehow.
Where are the
right?
babies?
You know
The
what?
baby exposure.
I am so
Never seen a baby Squatch.
the Kate says, I am so glad you asked.
Yeah. Let me tell me about the children.
Because I have a note on
want to see the
why
children.
are there no baby Sasquatch
I saw a
spotted?
picture of a baby Sasquatch, and I think it was Survivor Man.
Oh, I love that show. I
Remember
love
that
him.
show? He was amazing.
He was so good.
Yeah, he did an episode one time where he went up into Western Canada
Yeah.
in search of Sasquatch.
He was so
That'd be a
good.
fun word to
Yeah.
research.
So there is one sighting of a baby
Only one.
in 1997, in the Catskill Mountains in New York. And it was like bipedal animals. It was swinging in the trees. And they were saying that like the branches wouldn't have held a human, so it had to be like lighter than a human. That was a baby Sasquatch, and there looked like there was an adult down below. And
Interesting.
so people were like not for sure if this wasn't a bear or not, but this is the only kind of like documented potential sighting. But after people were like, it's interesting that we really don't have baby sightings.
Yeah.
You know who else we don't see babies?
What?
Dolphins.
Mermaids.
Pigeons.
Oh yes. You never see a baby pigeon.
No baby pigeons. Arbor
You only ever see adult grown pigeons.
But why we decided, so we debunked this, right? Because in our
Did?
birds aren't
Maybe
real.
you did.
We did that. It's like the pigeons are not allowed out of their nest until they're like,
Oh, so
like
the
them.
babies are.
And so the theory would be is that the same thing here, that like
Yeah, but I've seen a baby
like
rock.
primates don't like to like leave their
Right.
young. Do they?
So they're just severely hidden.
They're just running around on their back the whole time. They're all together.
I would put me on their back.
I was just thinking they were like staying at home, protecting their lives.
I didn't even think about that. Like kangaroo style, they're just holding on to the kid.
What's the theory?
Baby apes do that too.
Yeah.
Well, that was theory about when they thought
babies.
Hold on, spider monkey.
Yeah, when they thought the baby was swinging in the tree and the mom was below, they were like, that's kind of far away for
A baby.
primates to like be from their young.
Yeah.
So yeah. My last kind of fun fact was this theory that perhaps the dog face boy from Barnum and Bailey's, they know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about,
know what you're talking
was a Sasquatch.
Oh, like a runt to the lid up.
Do you guys have any other facts, stories, anything I missed?
No personal other stories than that. That's pretty good for one lifespan. But I would like to say to all your listeners, if they're interested in Sasquatch, definitely check out the Sasquatch Festival in Medellin Falls, Washington.
Oh, yeah, we're going.
We're coming.
June 14th and 15th, 2025.
I bet you there's going to be some Kangen water there.
I'll tell you what, it's very remote little town. So if you plan on going,
Get on it early.
Get on it.
well, if you're gonna stay in the town, there's some bed and breakfasts and stuff like that, and camping. But
Is that- We just like pitch a tent, right?
Yeah.
I'm so
seriously, yeah,
excited.
you can pitch a tent and go to the festival and get all squatched up, and then go pitch a tent
I love this.
With your wood booger.
Oh, your bushwhacker. What was the old one?
Bushman.
Bushman.
We'll find a bushman. I can't wait to work on my Squatch sounds.
You guys should invent like they have like the bird calls. You guys should invent like a Squatch call. Oh man. Okay. Well, what do you think now? Are you sold? You were sold to begin with.
I think they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're there, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
I think some kind of creature's out there.
Yeah, there's something up there that you pick up a log and whack it against a
Mhm.
tree.
Do you want to take over for Kaiten? What should the people do?
Okay, so I'm gonna do my Kate impersonation. Roll on down, leave us a like, toss us a follow, give us 5 stars, of course, if you think we're worthy of that, and share it with your friends and family.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, we love having guests.
Yes, we'll have to have you back soon.
Yeah, would love that. And you guys have an open invite, North Idaho. Come on up.
There you go.
Yeah,
We'll do a vlog and go to Squatch Fest and record live.
work trip.
Absolutely, let's do it.
That would be hilarious.
All right.
We'll just set up a
And
table.
so much fun.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.